As soon as we arrived at the Olympic Village, the excitement was palpable. The dormitory was a sprawling complex of modern design, its architecture both imposing and strangely welcoming. Yet, as we walked through the entrance, a chill ran down my spine. The air was thick with anticipation, but also with an unexplainable tension. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was slightly off, like the village had secrets it was reluctant to share. I met my roommates, all of us equally thrilled and nervous about the upcoming events. Sarah, Michael, and Luis were seasoned athletes with stories to tell, and we quickly bonded over shared ambitions and the desire to make our countries proud. As we unpacked, our conversation turned to superstitions and ghost stories. Harmless fun at first, but as the night wore on, our laughter grew uneasy, tinged with nervous glances at the lengthening shadows in the room. That first night, I struggled to sleep. Strange noises echoed through the hallways, soft whispers, distant footsteps, and a chilling laughter that seemed to come from nowhere. I kept telling myself it was just the excitement of being at the Olympics, but the feeling of being watched lingered, like eyes were on me from beyond the darkness. The next morning, as I explored the common room, I stumbled upon an old, dusty journal tucked away behind a bookshelf. It looked out of place amidst the otherwise modern decor. Flipping through its yellowed pages, I found cryptic notes and warnings from previous athletes about unexplained occurrences in the dormitory. Their words were filled with fear, and I couldn't shake the feeling that they were trying to tell me something important. As we trained and competed, the dormitory continued to unsettle us. Doors would creak open on their own, and shadows darted at the edges of our vision, always just out of reach. I began to notice how often we jumped at the smallest sounds, a creak of the floorboards, a distant thud. The sense of unease grew stronger with each passing day, and I couldn't help but feel as though the building was alive, watching our every move. One night, I had a vivid dream where I wandered through the dormitory, following a ghostly figure that beckoned me. Its form was indistinct, more a shape than a person, yet it felt oddly familiar. It led me down dark corridors and into a hidden room filled with flickering candles and ancient symbols carved into the walls. The air was thick with incense and a feeling of both dread and intrigue. I awoke in a cold sweat, the details of the dream etched in my mind. The following morning, I awoke to find a strange symbol drawn in chalk on the floor beside my bed. None of my roommates claimed responsibility, and a cold shiver ran down my spine as I recognized the symbol from my dream. It was as if the boundary between reality and dream had blurred, and I was left questioning what was real. The dormitory hallways took on a life of their own. Lights flickered erratically, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. Cold gusts of air swept through the corridors, carrying with them faint whispers of past athletes' voices, urging us to leave while we still could. Every step felt like a step deeper into a nightmare we couldn't escape from. Desperate for answers, we began to investigate the dormitory's history. We spent hours in the local library, poring over old records and newspapers. We learned that the dormitory had been built over the site of an old hospital, infamous for the unspeakable experiments conducted there during the war. The place had seen untold suffering, and it seemed those tormented souls had never truly left. One evening, while getting ready for bed, I glanced in the mirror and saw a reflection that wasn't mine. It grinned wickedly, its eyes dark and hollow, filled with malice. I turned away in terror, heart pounding in my chest, but the image was burned into my mind. The realization that something truly sinister was haunting us became undeniable. That night, we were awoken by a series of loud bangs and screams echoing through the halls. Heart racing, We rushed out of our rooms to find the lights flickering wildly and a dark, shadowy figure lurking at the end of the corridor. Its presence was oppressive, exuding a malevolent energy that made the air thick and hard to breathe. We backed away slowly, afraid to provoke it, afraid to turn our backs. Determined to confront whatever haunted us, we gathered in the common room, armed with makeshift weapons and protective symbols drawn from the journal. The air grew colder, the lights dimmed, and the entity revealed itself. A twisted apparition of agony and rage. Its form shifted and warped, like a nightmare come to life, and its eyes burned with a hatred that seemed to pierce into our souls. The poltergeist unleashed its fury, sending objects flying across the room and shattering windows with a deafening force. Books, furniture, and personal belongings were caught in the whirlwind, crashing into walls and ceilings. We fought to keep our composure, chanting prayers and mantras from the journal in a desperate attempt to banish it, our voices barely audible over the chaos. In the midst of the chaos, a calmness descended upon the room. The spirit of an athlete who had died long ago appeared, her presence a soothing balm to our frayed nerves. She spoke without words, offering guidance and hope. Her presence was warm and reassuring, a stark contrast to the dark entity we faced. She showed us the way to break the curse and free the dormitory from its haunted past. Following the spirit's guidance, we discovered a hidden chamber beneath the dormitory, its entrance concealed behind a false wall in the basement. The room was filled with relics and remnants of the hospital's dark past, each item exuding a chilling aura. In the center of the chamber lay the source of the haunting, a cursed artifact, its surface inscribed with malevolent symbols and pulsing with a sinister energy. With determination, we gathered our courage and destroyed the cursed artifact, shattering it with the combined force of our fear and resolve. As it broke, a blinding light filled the room, and a scream echoed through the halls, a sound of agony and release. The oppressive darkness that had haunted us lifted, leaving us exhausted but relieved. The air felt lighter, the dormitory finally at peace. The spirit of the deceased athlete appeared once more, her face serene and free of the burden she had carried. She thanked us for freeing her and the dormitory from the curse, her words echoing softly in our minds. With a grateful smile, she faded into the light, leaving us with a sense of closure and peace that had been absent for far too long. With the curse lifted, the dormitory returned to normal. The unsettling presence was gone, replaced by a feeling of tranquility and safety. We moved about freely, no longer glancing over our shoulders or jumping at shadows. The village seemed brighter, as if it too had been released from a long-held breath, and we could finally focus on our competitions without fear. As we prepared to leave the Olympic Village, we reflected on the harrowing experience. It had bonded us in ways we never imagined, forging friendships out of shared terror and triumph. We knew we'd carry the lessons learned with us forever. Lessons about bravery, resilience, and the strength found in unity. Even as we departed, a part of me couldn't shake the feeling that the dormitory still held secrets yet to be uncovered. As our bus pulled away, I glanced back one last time, half expecting to see a familiar shadow watching from the window. The village faded into the distance, but the memory of its haunted halls would stay with me, a reminder of the thin line between the seen and unseen.